Uh, um, so we're going to talk about food and wine with my friend Gabor from Budapest, Hungary. Hey man, how's it going?
Hello, sir. Very well.
It's
Always
been it's been how long since we've seen each other in Northern Croatia? Oh yeah. Yeah, you've got some wine.
maybe 3 weeks,
3 weeks?
more than. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would.
something
Very nice.
something like that. I think some people have met you before on Adventures with Sarah. I think you've been on. We've talked Budapest. I think we've talked Hungarian
Yeah.
wines and things like that. And we're going to delve into the tour in just a little bit. But I wanted Gabor to be able to talk a little bit about what he does, because you've got a bunch of things. You've got the wine tourism business, kind of like Sarah and I have. You've got a wine shop, which looks like that's where you're at tonight.
Yep.
Yeah. Stacked full of wines. You have a tasting room, and wine shop and tasting room are in Budapest, right next to each other, pretty much, right?
Yep. Just
And
across
you started importing wine. What was that? Like right before? Was it before the pandemic or during the
the
pandemic? I can't remember.
19, just before the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We, um, essentially, we do a bunch of whatever we do is pretty much about Hungarian food and wine. We just started different businesses, providing different services around this, but it's practically, yeah, all about wine tasting, wine sales, and wine tourism. Sometimes we help people to travel here, and other times we help the wines to travel elsewhere within the EU or to the US. And that's just really the summary. We started on the tourism side in 2008, doing food and wine tours here based in Budapest. First, we wanted to do just wine tours, and then that turned out to be sort of a tough sell. And then we added food tourism. So we started doing food walking tours in Budapest, combined with wine, of course.
I think that's actually the first time I met you and Carolyn, your wife, was
Yes.
a food walk, which
Yeah.
is, let's say, I mean, that was, I don't know what that was. That might have been like 2010 or 2011, but that was well before every city had like 5 different food walks going on.
Yeah, and we just simply called it culinary walk.
Okay.
And that shows that that was the only culinary walk in town. Yes. Now there are all kinds.
Yeah.
And so we do wine tours in Hungary. We do the culinary walks in Budapest. We pretty much have 3 kinds. We have pretty much 2 culinary walks, one in the evening, one in the morning, focusing on traditional food. And we also have another one focusing on Hungarian Jewish cuisine. And believe it or not, the walk you also took, 2010 or 2011, that was the first walk we ever came up with. And it was like hitting a home run for the first bet.
Yep,
because
nice.
we have not made any changes to that walk because it's perfect.
Wow. That's hard to believe, man, because that's great. 2, like, you have way more like self-control than I do, because I'm like, every year I'm like, let's see what can I tinker with on my shit. So
well, we started a bunch of other walks in the meantime, but that's the one that's been going on ever since we started it. And okay, the one thing we changed to it is that we added a wine tasting to it. There was always a wine tasting at the end of the culinary walk, but we did it, in different wine bars in Budapest. And then in 2014, we added our second business, which is the tasting table, the wine tasting cellar here in Budapest's Palace District. So now we have our own space where we can do tastings, and we finished the walk there. So that's the only change we did to it. We sort of upgraded the wine tasting part by adding our own venue, and of course our own selection and our own interpretation of Hungarian wine. So anyway, yeah, we do the tours, we do the tastings here. not just at the end of the culinary walk, but the tastings became its own business. We do tastings pretty much every day here, focusing just on Hungarian wine. And then, like you mentioned, in 2019, we added the wine import company. Carolyn is American, so we spent a lot of time there, and we spend a lot of time there, and that gave us the opportunity to start a U.S. company based in DC. Made a website. And we do our own importing. We have a wine club, the first and only Hungarian wine club in the U.S. And so now we bring in more or less 10,000 bottles of Hungarian wine to the U.S. every single year. Well, for the past 3 years.
Wow. So is that available in most? I mean, because I don't live in the U.S. anymore, and I know how difficult it seems. It's gotten worse, I think, as far as getting wines in different states. Can you get those wines in most states or many states, or how's that work?
In 25, 30 different states. So a lot.
Yeah.
And many people, let's say if you live in Pennsylvania, then you can ship to the state next door and pick it up at your friends.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, it's funny when I lived in the U.S., which now it's been 9 years since I moved away. It was like, well, we used to have some wine importers that don't exist anymore. But I used to get Hungarian wines, Bosnian wines, Montenegro, Croatia wines, and and that'll be great when I move over here. I'll just get all those wines, and then I realized, like, actually you have to go travel to those countries to get those wines. It was actually easier for me to get Bosnian and Hungarian wines in the US because I just go online and order them. So now it's like I have to get in my car and have to drive 5 or 6 or 7 hours if I want the wine.
I think there's an amazing opportunity there. And this is how we always added, different businesses, because people were saying, I can't get Hungarian wine anywhere in the US. So then we said, okay, somebody needs to figure this out. Why don't we figure this out? And then that's always how we added, the different legs to the business, which grew into something pretty crazy busy at times, like today. But I love it. I love every aspect of it. And you're totally right. There is no e-commerce and like the wine online wine sales in Europe are, at least I would say, I don't know, it's a very different scene in the US. The online wine selection is so much better in the US than it is here in Hungary or Europe. And now we also sell a bunch of wine within the EU. We have a website for that as well. So that's easy. But like you said, I don't know where I would go buy Bosnian wine. So somebody should start an Eastern European wine shop, online wine shop.
I'm guessing with our connections, we probably could do it if we want to spend the time on it, because there's no one-stop shop for it. Like in the US, there are some places like that, and here it's not. So, and one of the things at the tasting table, as I recall, is sometimes you'll do like I don't know, is it like a Thursday dinner with winemakers, or those things you still do sometimes?
I think you might have participated at one of them.
Yeah.
It's somewhat sad. COVID killed that. It was very popular. Every 2 weeks we had a winemaker at the cellar presenting his wines, and then our chef cooked a beautiful dinner, and it was very popular. And then 2020 March 16th came. We had to shut down for I think 500 and 70 days. And we tried to bring it back after COVID, but it didn't really work out. People were not interested. Maybe also more competition came up. And I guess it just shows you sort of the dynamics of this sort of business, not so much the tastings, but maybe these wine dinners. You lose your audience, and then they will migrate somewhere else. It's tough.
Well, I guess the one solution we're offering is just come over here for 10 days, and then you're
Well,
We'll
we
provide everything for you.
exactly. I mean, we do dinners, but now we only do dinners for our own groups.
Hmm.
We don't advertise them, and people can sign up as individuals. You have to have the whole group here, which actually makes it somewhat more special. And you know, and that actually takes us to the tour that we just put together with you, because that one also starts here at the tasting table with a private dinner and cooking class. And
And a cooking class. Okay, nice.
well,
So
we call it cooking party actually,
cooking
because
party. Okay.
it's very casual. It's combined with a wine tasting. You can participate in the hands-on activities as much as you want,
Hmm.
or as little as you want.
Depending
And
on how much you're drinking and how much you want to deal with a knife in your hands after.
yeah,
Yeah.
typically at the beginning people are very enthusiastic, and then at the end, yeah, it does go more towards the wine.
Then it's like, please, someone cook us a dinner. Well, we were gonna do this. We were gonna do a tour like this a couple of years ago, coming out of COVID. We are gonna do it in autumn of 2021, and it was gonna be Hungary and Slovenia. And
Mhm.
then it just didn't work out because it was hard enough just kind of getting everything back together a couple years ago. So what we decided to do was, because I've got the Harvest Tour, which is in Slovenia and one part of Croatia, but not the part of Croatia this tour is on. So we thought we'd make it Hungary and this northern Croatia, Slavonia, and Zagreb, because I mean, one of the things that I know my guests like, and I'm sure your guests do too, is like, let's go to some places where we're the only guests there. We're the only non-local folks there. And so you and I went to this part of Croatia about 3 weeks ago with your wife Carolyn, and it definitely seemed like we were the we were the only non-Croatians there.
It's off the beaten track, no
Oh,
question.
yeah, yeah, really off the beaten path. So I don't have a map to show everyone, but if people want to get a map out, if you find Zagreb, you go
I have
east. Oh, you do. Oh, look at this. Sweet.
excuse me.
Uh-oh.
Are you
There we
there?
go. Yep, I'm there.
Sorry, I
Oh,
love.
you got them. Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
Oh, I
so
see. Yes. So yeah, there's Hungary. Yep.
here is Budapest. This is where we start. Tokaj is up in the northeastern corner of Hungary, and then the region you're talking about is here, just south of the Villine region of Budapest in Croatia, or of Hungary, here in northern Croatia.
Yeah, exactly. And
Sorry.
it's right along the Danube. And
Yeah.
also we basically traveled all the way to the border with Serbia, because I think we were like 2 kilometers away from Serbia. And you're getting close to other countries where you get the SMS that like, hey, welcome to Serbia, and you're still in Croatia.
Yeah, I really like that. When we went down to the Danube, I mean, we visited wineries, and that was fun. That was a lot of fun. But maybe one of the most memorable parts was when we drove down to the Danube, and we had to walk down a little bit to get all the way to the shore, and then across the river was Serbia. That was very nice.
Yeah, that was a little town called Elok, so which we go to on the tour. So let's start at the beginning of the tour though, and go and why don't you take us through some of the things people see and taste and experience in Budapest and some of the other places in Hungary.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I actually love these cross-country tours through Hungary and the neighboring countries. This time it's going to be Croatia. I like these a lot because these countries are somewhat similar. There are a lot of similarities, but then they are different enough to sort of make the contrast very exciting. There are different languages, different culinary traditions, different wine and grape varieties, and sometimes you will realize that, oh, it's actually the same grape, but this is in Croatian.
Yeah. I think where we were,
Mm.
I think just some of the wines and some of the food we're much similar than the language. That's 100% sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because like Hungary's the land of vowels and Croatia's the land of consonants. And they need a little they need to do like a prisoner swap or something.
Yeah.
So it would be easier for everyone that way.
Give me some consonants.
Yeah. It's like, I'll trade you 2 vowels for a consonant. It's like, yeah. But yeah, no, it's interesting because you're like, oh yeah. I mean, and the thing is, Croatian and Slovenian are Slavic languages, but it's one name for the wine or the food in Croatian, and even in Slovenia there's a different name. And then for Hungary, of course, it's quite different usually.
Yep. So anyway, yeah, we're gonna get a grand start in Budapest. It's a city of 2 million people. There are 2 main parts that everybody knows, Buda and Pest, cut through by the Danube. The Danube is pretty mighty and big here, pretty wide. There are a lot of cruise ships there. There are a lot of beautiful bridges here. Architecture is pretty amazing. And the food scene is very amazing and very colorful. We will go to the central market, spend maybe a whole morning there doing some shopping and tasting. We will go up in the castle, spend some time there because the Buda side of town is sort of dominated by the old royal palace and the whole environment or the whole district of that. We'll spend time at the tasting table, and we'll also do a couple of side trips. The grandest one of all might be the Tokaj region. Actually, the wine I'm sipping is a dry Tokaj. Tokaj is very well known for the dessert wines, and most people don't really realize that it's actually more or less 50-50, depending on the vintage. But there's a lot of dry wine there as well. And the grape variety that is the most common there is called Furmint. And Furmint makes excellent sparkling wine. It makes excellent, let's say, easy drinking, dry white wine. It makes excellent, serious, sometimes full-bodied, barrel-aged dry white wines. And it also makes some of the most complex and best dessert wines in the world that you can ever find anywhere. So it's an incredibly versatile wine, both in the vinification, in the winemaking, and also on the table. If I had one grape variety to drink for the rest of my life, it would be Furmint, and I would never get bored of it because it's extremely versatile on the flavor profile. It changes as it ages. When it's young, it's very citrusy, grapefruity. If you age it in barrel, it's going to get a little darker color. It's going to get some nice nutty flavors, almond flavors. And when it ages for a long time, you're going to get a lot of green walnut, dried walnut. So really very, very complex wine.
Now I'm thinking, why didn't I open the bottle of Tokaj that you gave me to drink for this? But that, I guess I could do that after we're done with the live stream.
Yeah, so we're gonna spend some time in Tokaj, tasting wine, going to different families for either both wine tasting and also for meals, and touring the cellars that there are. Tokaj is a volcanic region. The soil is mostly made of this volcanic ash, rhyolite, and it's a stone that is hard enough, or that is soft enough to actually carve, even with like your axes and stuff like that. And people used to carve cellars by hand for centuries. So we're going to tour these sort of ancient tunnel-like cellars as well, sometimes covered with black mold.
Nice. Yeah. Well, then you're in something serious when you're in one of those places.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very Harry Potter like.
So one of the things I think I saw because I was loading up the photos was you're gonna see some barrel making. Is that right?
Hmm. Yeah, Tokaj is surrounded by oak forests, so everything is in one place. Grapes, cellars, natural cellars carved into the stone, and also even the barrel making is there. Winemakers consider that part of the terroir, part of the local, deal. And Tokaj wine is traditionally aged in the Tokaj oak barrels. There is even a special Tokaj sized 136-liter barrel called Gönci barrel, which is the traditional measurement and unit for making the sweet wine. And yes, there are a bunch of people who still follow this old trade, tradition, craft, and they make barrel by hand. And we will visit a gentleman in the village of Erdőbénye, right in the center of the Tokaj region, and he will put together a barrel right in front of our own eyes.
Whoa.
Which is very, I mean, if you see it, you're never going to forget it. It's there are so many little tricks where he's going to ask you, okay, so what's next? How do I solve this? How do I solve that? And it's almost like a puzzle that no, I have no idea what's the next step, because you can't possibly fit that thing in there.
Hey, is this like a Rubik's cube of wine?
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah, the final step, is when he puts the bottom and top pieces, the circular part of the barrel at both ends, and putting in one is okay, that's fine. But then how do you put in the other one with your hand inside the barrel?
It's like building the ships in the bottles and all that stuff. I haven't figured that out yet, how they do it.
Yeah, well, you have to come to Tokaj and see it.
All right, cool. And for those who don't know, what's the connection between Hungary and Rubik's Cube?
Yeah, so there was this Rubik is actually the name of the last name of the inventor of Rubik's Cube. He's a gentleman who is, well, he's retired now. I'm not sure, 70s, 80s. He's in his 70s, 80s, somewhere up there. And so he came up with the Rubik's Cube, this game that you have to put together in the 70s, I think, and somehow it became a game, a toy sold all over the globe.
Yeah, because when I had it, I never knew it was Hungarian. That's for sure.
Ernő Rubik is Hungarian. Yeah, Hungarians are very proud of it. I guess I guess I'm an odd one because I don't know how to do the 6 sides of the cube. Or how many sides are there? 6?
No, yeah, yes. I mean, I could do some simple ones, but I see those people like with blindfolds on, and then they do it in like 23 seconds, and I like that, and the guy who does the barrel making. It's like those are two things that I just can't. I'll probably never figure out.
Yeah, I'll probably first make a barrel, and then I'll make the then I can do the Rubik's Cube, but it's a difficult one.
Now, speaking of going to some local houses and things like that in Tokaj, is there going to be a stop at your local house in the Tokaj region?
Yeah, so we are renovating a house there, which is actually coming along really nicely.
Cool.
I'm happy and proud of it, and it is in the same village as the Cooper, the barrel maker. So let's see. I mean, I think there is a stop where we make goulash, the national soup. we could even make it there. Yeah.
That would be really cool to make it
Yeah.
at your whatever. What do you call that? Is there a name for that in Hungary? Like if you have like a house in a village, like is there any kind of name for that or term for that?
Mm, well, not like, not like a dacha or anything. We
That's what I was wondering if
don't
there
use
was.
that term. Uh, I guess we could call it weekend house.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I would like to sort of turn it into some kind of a destination where people could rent it and enjoy the beautiful garden there. We have a wine cellar that I don't think we're ever going to be able to fill it because it's 30 meters deep. But we could fill some of it with wine that we would like to age, and people could try it there.
That would be
So
fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's see if we can get that, if we can get a shortstop in there, because I know people
Okay.
always love to see those kind of places or just hear how you renovate. Because I think Americans are like, oh, you get a house in Europe and you renovate it. And usually most people have horror stories about that. And what I've heard from yours sounds like, hey, it's gone along pretty well, actually.
Well, yeah, but also, I do speak the language. It's like if I was doing it in Italy, I that would be a nightmare. But here I do have, I do know people and I have connections and yeah, it's been going fine. But we can always ask our guests to put a couple of nails in, paint a couple of walls. I'm sure
Yeah.
cut the grass.
Oh
I mean,
yeah, definitely. Or maybe like if you need more like wine cellar, you get the axe, like everyone gets their like 2 minutes with an axe to dig out a little bit more of the cellar. That would be, no, that's an experience. Like everyone likes experiential travel. So I think that needs to be added into the itinerary.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, cool. Yeah.
But the price, I mean, I'm gonna charge extra for that.
Oh yeah, it's like, yeah, especially it's like, oh, you got to rent an axe from us. So, or it's bring your own axe, but that might be a problem at the airport. So I'm not sure.
No, we'll provide the axes. But from that moment, it's gonna be also like architectural tour, not only food and wine. It's
Yeah. Well, hey, that's fine. You gotta like mix it up a little bit with some things that are not actually edible or drinkable the whole time.
Excellent. Yeah.
After you leave Tokaj, where in Hungary are you going before you get into this part of Croatia that we went exploring earlier this month?
Well, we're gonna spend a good chunk of time in. We're gonna see the Balaton part of Hungary. Balaton is a large, beautiful freshwater lake. The southern side, which we're not going to go to, is flat. For me, it's the more boring part. The northern part is hilly and volcanic, producing amazing, crisp white wines with some really nice, really beautiful hills that are made of basalt, this really hard black rock. So we're going to spend some time there, enjoying the view, the lake, and the wines, and some fish, most likely. And then we're also going to spend a good amount of time in southern Hungary, in the Villány region, which is our most, let's say for Hungarians, it is the red wine region. They produce 95% red wine, red grapes, and the signature grape there is a grape called Cabernet Franc. We do have a lot of indigenous varieties that are not grown anywhere else, but when it comes to more full-bodied reds, one of the key grapes here is Cabernet Franc. Cabernet Franc originates from southern France. It's grown all over the globe, typically used as a blending grape. And there are a few regions that are actually trying to focus on it and try to make outstanding wines from Cabernet Franc and label it, bottle it as a single variety. There is good Argentinian Cab Franc. There is amazing Loire Valley, South African Cab Francs, and Hungary is actually developing a decent reputation for it, and it's grown all over the country. But sort of the trend-setting region that started this is Villány, the southernmost wine region of Hungary, where we're going to spend a good day, and we're going to spend a night there as well, overnight. And I think I tried a wine or Cabernet Franc from a bunch of different regions. There's a lot of good stuff. Hungarian Cab Franc, in my opinion, is sort of perfect. It's spicy, it's full-bodied, but not overwhelmingly heavy. And it has beautiful ripe tannins. Many of them have this herbaceous herbal tone to it, tobacco, and still, since this is a cooler climate, a lot of fresh fruit is still preserved, along with a bit of, chocolate powder notes, which is typical to Cabernet Franc. You get a lot of red fruit, perfectly ripe. I mean, I'm gonna have a glass after this call, probably.
Ah, damn. I have to say, Cab Franc is probably one of my favorite wines, and I just don't get it or drink it so much because it's not where I'm at. There's hardly anyone doing it, and it's nice as a single varietal, and it's not so easy to get here. So
I haven't really seen it much. Not in Croatia either.
No.
I'm not sure how this gets decided, but in Hungary it's grown all over the country, and it seems to be a perfect climate for it. Not too cold, not too hot. It ripens consistently, every year. It's feeling very much at home here.
Nice. And then Villány is basically, it's almost at the border, pretty close to the border with Croatia, with this Slavonia region that we were at, and we spent a couple of days just looking around and exploring, because I think both of us had been there just very briefly before.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we had that was our first meal was that chobanets, which is this beef stew that was had a special breed of cattle that they have there in Slavonia, and it was made in a big cauldron, and it had these cherry hot peppers in it, and I'm still thinking about those. That's like Cab Franc. It's like, oh, I wish I can get those everywhere, but I can't. That was amazing.
Yeah, and that's again what I like about these cross-border tours, because like you said, this is about an hour south of Villány. It's a ethnically mixed region, so there are Hungarian speakers, Croatian speakers, and then the food is somewhat similar. Like this, if you look at it, it could almost be served in Hungary. But
with all the paprika, with some of the spices. They had that. It was kind of like it was like a spätzle kind of pasta, fried up with bacon and like a farmer's cheese, and it was delicious. But if I was served that in Hungary, I would just say, oh yeah, this is the local food for sure.
Yeah. But then the setting was different. The music is different. The way they serve it is very different. You get a bib, and in Hungary, you would never see those cherry peppers in a stew like that. I personally loved.
I don't think you see those in Croatia very much at all. I have to say, I think this Slavonia is probably the least visited part of Croatia for foreigners. And I do think if those people who are going to travel there, I think if you go down to Dalmatia or Zagreb or other places, and people say, oh, where have you been in Croatia? And you mention that you've spent a couple of days in this area, I think you'll get a little extra street cred. Because it's nice. They definitely have things ready to go for tourism there. And I mean, you can eat like a king. But it's like ready to go and just waiting for people to get their butts off of the coast and move a
Yeah.
little inland.
No, I think it's a perfect transition to leave Hungary and then slowly move your way to Zagreb and the mainland of Croatia.
So one of the things that we'll visit there, we'll visit a couple towns. Osijek, which is I think I mean I call it like the default capital of Slavonia. I don't know technically if it is or not, but it's the main city. It's on the that's on the Sava. I think it's on the Sava. It's not on the Danube. And then there's Vukovar, and Vukovar was the town that was just pummeled during the 90s war with the Yugoslav army with the Serbia. And we have a local guide. We'll go visit Vukovar. And then past Vukovar, where we went all the way to the border with Serbia. Was this little town called Ilok village that had that had a lot of wine cellars there. And I guess that was what we learned. It was that was the one part that was captured by the Yugoslav army because they couldn't get the other main cities. And I found it kind of just so strange. Like it's like, well, the two strategic cities we wanted, we couldn't get, but we got this really cute town with all these wine cellars in it. So like, let's call it good.
Yeah, and again, I mean, this is a pretty sad but extremely interesting twist to this tour, that you will be in an area of Europe where 20 or so years ago, 25 years ago maybe, there was a pretty bloody war between two neighboring countries that actually could easily understand each other because it's the language is either more or less the same or very similar.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the way Yugoslavia broke up was not a peaceful one. And I mean, I think the Croatians living there, and probably in other places too, but there it's very obvious they want to remember this. And this is pretty obvious on the architecture we saw, that there are some landmark buildings in Osijek, for example, Vukovar, that I think were not renovated for a reason.
Yeah.
And they are destroyed, they have bullet holes, and obviously damaged by the recent war.
Yeah, and that's really hard to see in most of Croatia. I know there's some places outside of Zadar, I don't think that have been rebuilt, but you're not really going to see them unless you kind of take some little small roads. So yeah, this is the one place in Croatia where you can get a reminder of that. One of the things I loved, I mean, this is great when you have a place that doesn't have too much tourism or at least like it's got some tourism and business for locals, is the fact that someone, I forgot who, told us about some small winery, and when we drove there, it's just a guy's house, and he's got and we just show up, and it was kind of like, hey, we hear you have some good wines, can we, what do you have? Can we check it out? And then it's like, oh, here, just come into my living room. Let me move this shit out of the way, and just starts pouring us wines. And we spend like an hour and a half just whatever, shooting the shit and drinking wines and kind of like ducking through the small little kind of wine production he's got in his house. I mean, and because that's so great. I mean, you know how it is. Some people would be like, hey, buy something and leave or whatever. But there's just so inviting when it's kind of like, well, why are you, we got Hungarians and Americans in here? Like, okay, come on in. I'll show you what I got. I mean, I thought that was great.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah, his front gate was open, and we walked through his yard. There was an open gate door in the middle of his house. We walk in a little bit further down to the cellar, and there they were, hand bottling or their wine. And thank God they were getting close to the end. And his father. And I think the junior was happy to actually get a break. Also
Yeah, maybe he was like, oh, thank goodness I can
yeah,
get out of this bottling stuff for a while and help these foreign guests.
but that's definitely a place we're gonna go to on the tour. That was, yeah, that was a very nice experience, very casual. The wine was amazing. And then also when I was checking out, I don't know, I think I bought 6 bottles. I don't know, I don't remember. We I said I don't have cash, and I said, well, just transfer me the money.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
After an hour of having to getting to know me. And
Yeah.
also one more note that's interesting and very typical of Eastern Europe and Eastern European tourism and wine. So in Hungary, we're going to be tasting a bunch of, we're going to taste a bunch of Ola Riesling, which is a local Hungarian / Eastern European varietal. And it's one of the main varietals, if not the main varietal, of northeastern Croatia. And guess what? There they call it Graševina. Same grape, different name, and also different style. Although it's the same grape, the style is almost so different that you could barely really tell that it is the same grape variety. But genetically speaking, it's pretty much the same. And I think that's a beautiful contrast, beautiful game to taste a local grape that is Eastern European, and see what the two different nations take is on this grape.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, try it different ways.
Yep.
So, and then after in the tour, after a couple of days in the Slavonia region, guests are going to Zagreb, the capital of Croatia. Which, it's strange. Like, I think Zagreb is like one of the capitals where, and it's a nice city, but because everyone's on the coast or on an island or in Istria getting truffles and stuff and olive oil, it actually seems to get less traffic than like 5 other cities in the country. But there's a place that I hadn't been to, but you've been to, called Kutjevo. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and do wine tasting there.
Kutjevo is pretty much the heart of this Slavonia wine region, and well, the minor region and the town is also called under the same name, Kutjevo. And if you want to name a city that is famous for the Graševina in Croatia, then that will be Kutjevo. It's really the sort of the main center of this wine production. For Croatia, Graševina is sort of important on the white wine side. It's a very crisp, easy drinking, light white wine with good acidity, a little bit of almond flavors. And since the rest of Croatia, the coast, Istria, is so warm, and the wine styles there, especially the red ones, tend to be heavier, more full-bodied. When they want to have a more easy drinking, refreshing white wine, Graševina and the Kutjevo Graševina is an amazing choice.
Nice. And then another place where we'll take a day trip to from Zagreb, and it's less than 45 minutes from the capital. It's actually very close to the border with Slovenia, and it's a place called Pleševica. And I only went there for the first time last year. I went to the Zagreb Wine Festival, I think March of 2022, and went with a friend of mine from Dubrovnik who took me there. And great Pinot Noirs, great sparklings. There's some places that actually do maceration, and that was one thing I was going to ask you, because I don't know Hungarian wines, obviously, like you do, but I don't know if I've had many macerated Hungarian wines. And in Croatia, I think Istria is more the reason, more the place for macerated wines, but
Mhm.
we'll have some in Pleševica. But do they are some people doing that in Hungary? And what parts of the Hungary are they doing it in? If there's like a
Yeah,
epicenter for it?
yeah. So when it comes to orange wine, skin contact wine, natural wine, or macerated wine, whatever you call it, I mean, Slovenia is really the cradle. I mean, no, the cradle is Georgia, but
Yeah.
here in Europe, Slovenia.
We've done a pretty good job with it though. Like we might have we borrowed some stuff from them, but like
Yeah,
we're doing pretty good with it.
no question. Of course, no. Slovenia, I think, is the leading, producer country of orange wines, definitely in Eastern Europe. And yeah, Croatia, I'm more familiar with the Istrian scene. They have a lot of really great orange wines. Here in Hungary, I think it started somewhat later. I don't know what the reason is for that. And I could not really name a region where it would be typical or more typical than elsewhere. There are producers focusing on this kind of wine all over. Okay, maybe if there is one, the Matra region, which is the closest region to Budapest on the east side. Maybe that's where there is it's very close to Budapest. It's a somewhat overlooked region. Nevertheless, it has amazing volcanic soil, good climate. And since a lot of these wines are made by, well, let's say hipsters, and Budapest has a good supply of them. And
You don't say.
and so if they want to make a wine like this, then they could go to the Matra region, buy land for fairly cheap, and make their skin contact wine. I'm actually going there tomorrow.
Oh, you are? Oh, well, there you go. Perfect. Well, okay, yeah, okay. Then I'll give you your job, your mission, if you choose to accept it. Find a bottle for Andrew that I could pick up when I come for the Comic-Con in June.
Like a macerated wine,
Yes, like a macerated
or
wine.
anything that I find that Andrew would
No,
like.
I mean, hey, you go more than one bottle. I won't penalize you for that. Whatever.
Okay. When are you coming, by the way, to the
That's the convention's the June 10th and 11th. So I'll be there. I'll be there on the 8th of June to the 11th to the 12th of June, I think, for like 4 or 5 nights. So anyway, yeah. So I'm not interested in hanging out with comic creators the entire time. So I do have my other persona I have to do, which is drink wine and taste things at your tasting table. So
I'm looking forward to it.
yeah. Oh, and by the way, I have to say thank you. Tasting Table does carry my comic book now, which is really awesome. So appreciate it. And I've heard strange things that people are trading like ukuleles for comics at your shop.
No. The lady dropped the ukuleles for you or your kid, and I didn't trade it. I sold it to her.
Okay, all right. That's even better. So, for those watching, if you happen to be in Budapest between the 8th and the 12th of June, we're gonna actually have a after party for some of the folks at the Comic-Con there. So at the tasting table. So if you're part of Adventures with Sarah and you're watching this and you happen to be in Budapest, send my email or write me a message on Facebook. Let me know, and I probably can get you an invite. It's RSVP. It's not gonna be more than 30 people, but I think we can get you into that event.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be more than 30 people because
There's not gonna be room. So, well, one thing I want to do is I will put on this live stream. I'll post a link both for the tour, because we have spots available and it's running, because we talked about it, but we haven't said, hey, when is it? It's in October, which I think is always like, I think the best time for anything food and wine, I think, is October.
Yeah.
At least in Europe. It's the 12th, it's the 2nd through the 12th of October. We're running it there. Starts in Budapest, ends in Zagreb. 10 nights, 10 full days. We've got all the details on the newly revamped Awesome Adventures with Sarah website. I will also put your link to your shop. So if you're in the US and you want to get some Hungarian wines, you can go to tastehungry.us/shop, but I'll put the URL in our Facebook as well. And like, I'll say this for all the tours we do. If you want to come early or stay late, I mean, Budapest is, I mean, that's a city I could easily spend a week in. So if you're thinking of coming out on the tour and you want to see more than what we have on the itinerary there, or you just want some chill out time, to get over jet lag, we can help arrange some stuff. So you can do a little pre-tour and some other activities there. And if you're thinking of staying afterwards, Zagreb is less than 2-hour train ride from Slovenia, where I live, Ljubljana. So if you're thinking of wanting to visit Slovenia afterwards, we can easily put together a little post-tour custom package for you there. Or, I hear there's nice wines and nice cities in the rest of Croatia. So plenty of options for people if you want to get a little bit more extra in on your trip to Europe. So we'll have links up for all of that momentarily, and I'll be checking questions too. And Gabor, if I get some questions, I think any wine questions or any wine and or Hungary questions, I'll send to you and get answers from.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this tour in October, and you'll be spending time with me.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, I can say it's great, but I haven't even been to Tokaj, which I probably shouldn't admit, because I've been to Budapest so many times. I've been to Villan, and I've been everywhere else on the tour. I haven't been to Tokaj, so I think that needs to get rectified sooner rather than later.
I don't even know why I got in this call with you.
You're like, shit, man. If I knew that, it's like I would have run the tour with someone else, or at least been to Tokaj. Yeah. So yeah, I gotta get on that right away, Gabor.
Well, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. Hey, if that's an invitation, then
it's an invitation, and I mean, I think it's going to inspire you at least in 2 ways: travel, tourism, and dazzle as well.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. You guys want me to set an issue of the comic in Hungary or Budapest. So yes, I'm hoping for some inspiration, but I think I might need a little like Tokaj wines in me first before I get to that point.
Dazzle would love Tokaj.
Yes, I think so. I think so too. So awesome. Well, hey Gabor, thanks for taking time out tonight to talk with us. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And we'll have some information links up on Facebook real soon. And yeah, we got spots available, so come on in, sign up. And we didn't even show any pictures of food and wine other than the wine glass you have. And I'm pretty sure everyone's really hungry for this right now. So, all right, folks, thanks for tuning in. Gabor, see you in a couple months. Okay, buddy.
Andrew, see you soon.
Ciao.